In this video, I will go through exactly how I took a team from 200k up to 450k a month. But before I go into the process and improvements that we made, I just want to give some context of where this team was before I took over. So they've been hitting a plateau at around 200k a month, and they've been fluctuating at around 100 and 200k every single month for about 6 to 12 months. And what I saw immediately when I took the team over was that they were very inconsistent when it came to close rates. They had 4 closers on the team, and 3 of them, they were closing at around 30%, and there was one that was closing at 60-70%, and I've been doing that for a very long time. And what I thought immediately was, okay, we need to get the other closers up to these levels. So that was very inconsistent. But then I also saw that there was a very weak follow-up system, no-show handling process, which made us lose out on a lot of money, okay? But also a big thing here is that I saw a lot of limiting beliefs. I'll go into this a little bit later on, but this was a Swedish team. Obviously in a smaller country, there will be limiting beliefs of what's actually possible. And I knew from the first moment that I stepped in, this is something that we need to handle. Then a very big thing as well is that there was a high refund rate. So obviously we were very good at getting money in front end, but we didn't keep that much. So this is an issue that we needed to fix. So how do we actually fix this? Step number 1 that I always do whenever I go into a new team is that I audit the pipeline. I audit the team, I audit the company, right? See, how is the pipeline looking? Where are we losing out on deals? What kind of SOPs do we have in place? What's the level of the reps? What's the level of the overall team? So that I can identify the drop-offs, right? One big thing that I saw immediately is that what we do after the call, the post-call process, either if they don't show up, if they cancel, or if they show up to the call, but what do we do after, right? That was a big thing that I'm going to go into in just a moment. I spotted weak conversion points, which was after the call, but also a little bit before the call, what we can do to improve the pre-call setup, but then also find the revenue leaks. A big thing here was exactly this with the refund rate that I spoke about earlier on. So how do we actually do this? Step number 2 was to build a follow-up system. When I take over a team, I see it as 2 phases. The first phase is about getting all of the right systems in place. That will help us catch a lot of low-hanging fruits. They can just keep on running. But then after that, we go into the second phase where we focus a lot on just constant improvement. But one of the first things that we did was building a follow-up system, because I realized that after the closing call, nothing happened at all to collect that cash, okay? They were hoping that, okay, maybe they can call me back, or they booked a call a week ahead and then they never showed up, right? And then here and there, maybe you got 1 or 2 closes on the follow-up, but that was only because of luck. So that's a big thing that I implemented immediately to make sure that we had a set fixed follow-up schedule, right? That we used our CRM to set tasks and reminders so we can actually follow up them, but also create workflows, right? That helped us follow up with these prospects. We obviously used multi-touch points with calls, text, emails, etc., and also re-engage every dead lead, and not only with the closest leads, but also the leads that haven't even been on a closing call. How can we re-engage those? So something that I did was I made loads of follow-up templates. I used the value that we had and made that into follow-up templates, right? Here is an example of how that actually looks. So I'm gonna read it out. Hi, contact first name. I was looking through the course again and stumbled across this video. It's rare that I send out material from the program, but I really think the video and the accompanying worksheet could benefit you. Link to the video here. I'm attaching the Excel sheet below. Hope it comes in handy. Okay, this is an example of how one of these follow-up emails could look. And if you look at it, it's not about asking for the sale. It's not coming across as pushy. What we want to have is we want to have an angle of reaching out to help them, right? As you can see, it's rare that I send out material from the program. You know, this comes across very personal, okay? I really thought about you. But then also we give them free value. For example, in this case, if the prospect was struggling with finances, we send out a video module on budget, and then we also send out the Excel sheet, right? This is all about giving value, and this goes back to the quote from Alex Hormozi: give, 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 get. That's our mindset when it comes to follow-up system, and since then we've been closing a lot of people on follow-ups because we're just consistent with hitting them up with value. So step 3 here was to improve the pre-call setup. So what I realized was that we had a very solid pre-call setup. Our show-up rates was around 70-80%. But what I felt was that we can also use the pre-call to improve the closing rate. And what we did very well before was to set the right expectations before the call. Pre-frame the offer. We had a very good link to landing page where we went through all of that with testimonials, information about the program, etc., etc. But something that I felt could have been improved is the trust, right? We could have definitely improved the trust with the closer. So what I made all of the closers do is to record a video with the offer owner, where the offer owner just talks a little bit about the closer and what's going to happen on the next call, so that they can get familiarized with the closer themselves. Okay, so this is how that could look. Hi contact, first name, looking forward to our conversation. Before we speak, make sure that you watch the information videos sent to you via SMS. It provides you good foundation and answers the most common questions beforehand. If you also want to put a face to my name and get a better idea of what we will go through, you can take a look here, right? Then we'll link a video to that interview. And the better prepared you are, the more value you'll get out of the conversation. And as you can see, we're not sending a lot of links here, because if there's a lot of links, the response rate will be a lot lower, okay? Because then it can come across as spam. So that's one of the reasons why it would look like this. Obviously, we have a lot more material that we send over. Step number 4 here was to recover no-shows fast. So what I realized was that after the closing call, there wasn't a lot of things happening. First of all, with the follow-up, right? To close more deals after the closing call, but also what happened with the people that canceled or no-showed? We didn't really have a process there. So first of all, we need to track it. But also, something that I did immediately was to just create a workflow on Close CRM that whenever a lead no-showed or canceled and got put in a specific stage of the pipeline, this workflow got triggered, and that just sent out a couple of emails that made them rebook. But then also with the sellers, to really treat them as hot leads, because they are. If they've been on the calendar, they've shown some kind of interest. So I really made sure that all of the sellers, that they call up the leads very, very quick and get them back on the calendar. But that's the first phase. Like I mentioned, I have 2 phases when I take over a team. Number 1 is to get all of the systems in place, and there's been a couple of more systems that I've put in, but these are the main ones. And before I took this team over as well, there was a couple of systems already there. But then the second phase is the constant improvement, okay? And that takes us to step number 5. That is train daily, especially when it comes to sales skills. So like I mentioned, one big thing that I saw immediately when I took over was that it was very inconsistent when it came to the close rates. It was about 30% for 3 of the reps, but then one of them had 60 to 70, which told me that obviously there is a lot of room for improvement here. So what we do here is we run role plays 3 times a week at least. Sometimes we do it even 4 times, and sometimes I do it more individually with the closer. If they really need a lot of help, then I do run a mock call with them pretty much every single day, just to get back into that flow. I also review a lot of calls. Here you can see a screenshot of one of my reviews. So what I always do is just go through the call, make a list of what can be improved, both good feedback but also negative feedback that we can implement, and then I just make a loom. But then also a big thing here was to drill objections and reframes, because what I realized was that we had a very solid discovery phase, but when it came to the end, we went a little bit too early on a guarantee, which caused the high refund rate. That was a big thing. Obviously, I'm going to go into that a little bit more later on, but the big thing here was that we didn't really handle the right objections, which caused us to go into the guarantee, and then we got a lot of refunds. Okay, so I did loads of training with the objections and reframes, and what I realized as well was that there wasn't basically any SOPs on how to actually do it. So I created a big doc with loads of reframes that they could use, and now they have 5 or 6 that they can just take out of their pocket and use whenever they feel like that would be necessary. After we've done this, which we still do continuously, something which is in my opinion the most important thing here was that I coached for belief and energy. Like I mentioned, this team had been around 200k for quite a long time, and with this you create these subconscious barriers, you create these subconscious ceilings that, okay, we can only hit 200k because you've never been able to hit it before. So it kind of makes sense, right? We can rationalize that thought. But the first thing that I did, the absolute first thing that I said when I took this team over was that there's no reason at all why we can't hit 500k this month. No reason at all. And they started to believe it. I said it constantly, right? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do this? And they started to believe it. So I removed that limiting belief. And now we truly believe that we are number 1 in Sweden. We truly believe that we are the best. Everyone does that. Everyone believes that because we've been doing it. We've been proving it. Every single month now since I took over, we've been hitting more than 200k a month. 250k, 450k, but also 380k around there, right? That's what we've been hitting. And we've been removing these limiting beliefs. And that's on a bigger scale, but also on individual scale. What I could see was that a lot of the closers here, that was around 30%, they started identifying themselves as a closer who was only closing at 30%, right? They said, well, hopefully I can get a couple of more deals. Well, based on my call volume today, I'll probably get 2, even though I have 7 calls on the calendar, right? They were starting to say things like that. And what I realized was that they are putting the ceiling to to themselves. And there was one closer in particular that I asked, why can't you close every single call? Why can't you close it? And he couldn't answer me. He couldn't give me a good answer. And since then, he closed 19 out of the next 19 calls that he had. And now he's consistently closing at 60-70%. And I could tell it was only about the limiting beliefs. So I raised the performance standards here and also reinforced a winning mindset. So I put in a couple of incentives here by reinforcing the winning mindset. For example, just having team goals that everyone worked towards. But then also another thing that we implemented for this was to have 10 commandments, right, that everyone need to follow. 10 commandments with behaviors of what a great sales rep actually is. It could be taking 100% responsibility, it could be being a good leader, it could be just having a balance in your mind. Things like that everyone now follows, that we keep on just repeating and repeating and repeating so we can get that belief and energy. And another thing that I focus on a lot as well is what they actually do outside of sales. It's people, right? It's people that we speak to. So if you yourself have bad energy or there's something going on behind the scenes, then how can you expect to actually perform on a sales call? So I've been really focusing on meeting my reps where they at so that they can handle their own things and then they can handle the prospects things, because you can only lead others as far as you've led yourself. So that's something that I've been focusing on a lot. And then step number 7 is to align the post-sale experience. Like I mentioned, we had a very high refund rate in the beginning. What we really wanted to do is set clear expectations. Okay, that is the closer's responsibility, right? Like I mentioned, we focused a lot on objections and reframes, so we didn't go too quick into the guarantee that we had. Set clear expectations. Okay, when you get into the program, you need to do X and Y and Z, just so they can really get into it. Another thing that we did as well was to create a workflow that sent out 2 emails after the close so that they could get full clarity on what they actually can expect within the program. And then another big thing that I need to give a lot of credit to the rest of the team for is with the CSM team. That has helped us a lot. Number one, with the offer owner having a lot more time on his hand, but also with just lowering the refund rate. Since I took over, we've been lowering the refund rate where we've actually been halving it, right? So getting it from about 50% to 25%, which is a big improvement that we're also still working on. So this has been a big thing. But then step number 8 is just a continuous improvement. Right, track and scale what actually works. So double down on the top performance. Okay, that's what we've been doing as well, to actually reward the guys that actually are performing really well. So make sure that they get even more calls on the calendar. That helps us making more money. But then also standardize winning behaviors so that we can keep on doing them. Right, with all the micro things, with recording calls, with sending in KPIs, end of days. That is something that I value a lot and that I push a lot within my team. And now everyone is aligned on that. So now we keep each other accountable to make sure that we do that. But also keep on optimizing the pipeline. There will be time when we have less calls, lower lead volume, right? And then we just need to make sure that we do everything with the pipeline that we can, right? Follow up with the leads, nurture the leads, etc., right? That's just keep on optimizing the pipeline. And that's how we keep on going. That's how we keep on improving, because I truly believe that 450k, that is not the ceiling for us. It's far from the ceiling. I truly believe that we can get into 1 million a month in only Sweden, right, within a short period of time. And that's what we've done, right? Like I mentioned, we did go from 30 to 60 to 70% in close rate. Went from 200k up to 450k a month, and actually even higher. Like I mentioned, we had pretty high refund rate, but if you look at this number right here, 6.8 million Swedish kronor, that is about 720k US dollars, and that's the front end money before refunds, right? So we know that we are at this level. We know that we can reach fantastic heights, right? And we know that we are the best in Sweden, right? This is what we show now. We've shown this month and month again, that we are consistent, that we can consistently hit all of these numbers. So that's how I took a team from 200k to 450k in 60 days. But what I really want to emphasize here as well, it's not only been me, definitely not only been me. It's been a teamwork. It's been everyone from the CEO, the offer owner, the sales reps, the CSM. Everyone here has been working really hard. And this is only from my point of view, what I've been doing. Then there's loads of things that we've been doing back end with the webinars, with optimizing the process, with training up a CSM team, etc. So I really want to give credit to the full team. And this is from my point of view, what me and the sales team has been working on to make sure that we've been more than doubling in less than 60 days.